You're fired. I don't need anyone who opposes me. Pack your stuff and get out of here.
I was fired by the CEO of the company I worked for because I stood up to him. Afterward, encouraged by my boss, Sarah's words, I decided to start my own business. I won't run away this time. I'll face this head on. I can't let someone who hurts our valuable employees get away with it.
Who are you exactly?
Sarah's eyes seemed slightly moist as she witnessed the determination of everyone. My name is Ethan Sawyer. I'm turning 30 this year. I joined an IT company as a fresh graduate, and it's been 6 years now. I moved from a small town to New York when I graduated from college and have been living alone. I majored in computer science in college because I was always good with computers. The company I joined was built from the ground up by Henry Wall, the CEO. Henry has made a name for himself as a shrewd CEO, and the company is well regarded within the industry. Initially, I was proud to join such a reputable company straight out of college. I was full of hope for my new life. However, reality was not so sweet. After joining, I gradually realized the company was full of forceful and unreasonable rules by Henry, which we had no choice but to follow.
Hey, you have to secure this client at all costs.
Today as well, Henry's yelling fills the room. If you argue with Henry here, I know you'll get a long scolding later. This was something I had learned over the years. I felt like the employees were being treated like slaves to Henry.
Hey, you, Ethan. You seem like you have something to say. You know what happens if you oppose me here, right?
Yes, sir, I understand. Henry glared at me sharply. I intended to speak up today, but his piercing gaze froze me in place. As a result, I ended up saying nothing. I was a top sales performer, standing out from the others. It seemed likely I would be promoted smoothly, and I was confident in that. But achieving good results in this company was far from easy. Even as a software engineer, I was pushed into sales and given quotas that were nearly impossible to meet. I often had to take work home and work through the night. If I didn't meet the quota, I would be called by Henry for training. Though we received overtime pay, the workload was intense, and everyone was exhausted. Yet, in these hellish days, there was a brief respite.
Good job. You're the top performer this month again. That's impressive.
That was Sarah, the manager, offering me a cup of coffee. Thank you. It was just luck.
That's not true. It's the result of your skills and hard work.
Being praised directly made me shy, and I looked away. Sarah was 6 years older than me. She was not only competent at her job, but also took good care of her employees, and everyone admired her. I am one of those who admire Sarah. She easily meets Henry's unreasonable demands and exceeds expectations. I managed to keep up and achieve results against Henry's challenges, but many employees eventually reach their limits. Honestly, there wasn't a day I didn't think about resigning. However, considering the clients who relied on me and Sarah, I couldn't make a decision lightly. Besides, I love my job as an engineer, and of course, my colleagues all take pride in their work. It was hard to see my juniors leave as if they had lost their sanity because of Henry.
I guess I'm just not cut out to be an engineer.
During a break, my colleague Alex asked me for advice. That's not true. I can vouch for your skills. You should have confidence. I said that sincerely. Without any deceit, Alex had high abilities and was a valuable asset as an engineer. However, his communication skills were extremely poor. When he first joined, he didn't talk to anyone and just worked on his computer, becoming isolated. As Alex's mentor, I was chosen, slowly closed the distance between us over a year, and finally, we started talking. To my surprise, I discovered his friendly side and his intense passion for work, leading us to spend nights talking about our jobs. However, Alex struggled with sales and became increasingly pale as the monthly departmental reporting meeting approached. On the day of the monthly reporting meeting, Henry was frustrated with the recent lack of sales performance. As usual, the meeting started with a long speech from Henry. He pointed out the unsatisfactory situation with a grimace. Sometimes, he would mix in tales of his past exploits or bragging, singling out someone for public reprimand based on his mood. I really hated these moments. It was no different from bullying. All I could hear were shouts, with no substance to the words. And that day, Alex was Henry's target. He was made to stand in front of everyone and was scolded for an extended period. His humanity was even denied, making it unbearable to watch. However, no one dared to speak up, because doing so could make them the next target.
Listen up. Someone gloomy like you doesn't deserve to live.
I'm sorry.
But the moment I heard these words, I found myself standing up unconsciously. I could feel my blood boiling. All eyes turned to me, but I couldn't care less. Enough is enough. There are things you should and shouldn't say. Before I knew it, the words were out of my mouth. Once I started, I couldn't stop.
What? You have a problem?
I don't think there's any need to go that far. Henry, with a fierce demeanor, turned his glare towards Sarah.
Hey, can't you control even one of your colleagues? That's your job, isn't it?
I'm sorry. It seems he got a bit too heated. It's not his true intention.
Sarah apologized to Henry on my behalf. While feeling sorry for her, I faced Henry squarely. Today, I shall try to express my opinion. More than anything, I've been on top of this company. There's no reason I shouldn't be allowed to express an opinion or two. I convinced myself internally and spoke up. With all due respect, Henry, the approach you're advocating might not be feasible in today's era.
That's just your excuse. If you target the client when they're vulnerable, it will surely lead to sales. That's how I've built up this company.
I think that approach might be increasingly counterproductive nowadays. Actually, that's probably why our sales have not been doing well lately.
Wait a minute, Ethan.
Sarah worried and called out, but I continued undeterred. With compliance becoming stricter these days, maybe it wouldn't hurt to try a more conciliatory approach with our clients.
Hey, are you questioning my methods? Since when have you been so bold as to talk back like that?
Henry stood up, slamming his hands on the table. His eyebrows were furrowed, and his face turned red with anger.
You seem to be under some misunderstanding. No matter how good your work is, you're just a pawn in this company.
He sat back down with a thud, crossing his legs.
And I'm the one who moves the pieces. In other words, anyone who can't follow my orders has no right to work here.
His harsh words came rapidly, and he continued.
You're fired. I don't need anyone who opposes me. Just pack your stuff and leave.
Henry glared at me. His brows furrowed deeply, making his handsome features seem even more ruthless.
Wait a minute, please.
Sarah raised her voice against Henry's firing decree.
What? Sarah, do you have a complaint as well? Fine by me. I don't need anyone who has objections to my decisions.
It's too much to fire him on the spot.
Henry cut her off with a smirk.
This happened because of your lack of supervision. I'll be expecting a report later.
With that, he ignored me completely and started flipping through his documents. That day, I decided to leave the company, but I had no regrets. Ignoring Alex in that moment would have been truly regrettable. After completing the resignation procedures and as I was leaving the company, Sarah called out to me, and I turned around. "Sarah, thank you for everything until today." As I thanked Sarah, her voice was filled with sorrow.
You didn't have to leave. I'm really sorry. As your supervisor, I failed to protect you.
This time she apologized to me. No, this is for the best. I couldn't look her in the face and left the company. As I exited the entrance, someone was waiting for me.
I'm coming with you.
Alex, with a large cardboard box in his arms, was determined. If anyone was going to be stubborn about this, I knew it would be him. "You're coming with me."
Of course.
And so, we both left the company. We began working as freelance engineers. But freelancing was much harder and more unpredictable than we had imagined. We quickly realized the value of having the name of a well-known company behind us. Sometimes we earned more than we did as employees, but often much less. Living in constant fear of running out of savings was unnerving. Yet, encouraging each other and working together made our days fulfilling. 2 months after leaving our previous jobs, Sarah contacted me, and we agreed to meet at a cafe. "Are you off work today?" Sarah shook her head.
No, I quit my job too. It's all his fault.
She said, her expression filled with disgust as she referred to Henry as him.
After you left the company, he didn't change at all. He kept treating employees like pawns, using them up and then discarding them.
Her face twisted in frustration.
I don't understand how someone like that could ever become the CEO. Someone like you should have been in that position. I thought I could just endure it, but I really started to dislike his methods. So I quit on my own accord.
Hearing her words made me realize something I had been considering for a while. "Are you working somewhere now?"
I'm enjoying the unemployed life.
She said with a sigh, her tone one of resignation.
I'm not having any luck with job hunting, and all of this is Henry's fault.
Did Henry do something?
I don't have any proof, but I keep getting rejected at the application screening stage. Even when I manage to get an interview, as soon as I mention my previous company, the atmosphere turns awkward, and then there's no follow-up. Maybe he's putting pressure on them or something.
I never imagined that someone as outstanding as Sarah would find herself in such a situation. If you're interested, would you like to work with me? That said, I'm planning to start up a company now. I won't be able to offer a high salary, and it'll be a step down from what you're used to. My sudden offer clearly took Sarah aback. If you'd prefer, it could just be a temporary thing until you find something else. But I'm not trying to pressure you.
Well, really?
She looked at me quizzically, peering into my face, faced with her beauty, which could rival any magazine model's. My heart raced. This is how I decided to start my own company. I had already reached out to a few people who had left Henry's company, and they were on board with starting up a company right away. Everyone enthusiastically agreed. And so, Sarah came to work with our company. With her arrival, The previously subdued atmosphere among us was replaced with energy and vibrancy. Despite being only in her early 30s, Sarah had risen to the position of manager at Henry's company. She naturally demonstrated her skillful workmanship, quickly becoming admired among the other employees. Before she arrived, most of us had been working with a somewhat resigned attitude. But inspired by Sarah's unyielding dedication to her work, everyone gradually became motivated, and in response, our company's sales began to improve. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her our savior. I felt like I could never face her with anything but respect. Watching her focus intently on her computer, I was lost in thought until Alex interrupted me.
You seem happy. What were you thinking about?
Nothing much. Trying to hide my smile, Alex kept grinning.
I think you and Sarah would make a great couple. It wasn't just a work relationship at the old company, was it? Seems suspicious.
What are you talking about? That's not it at all. Though I denied it, my face probably betrayed a ridiculously happy smile.
Well, but a beauty like Sarah, pairing up with a boss. That seems unlikely.
His dismissive comment was too accurate to argue with. A self-deprecating laugh made me feel even more hollow inside. Then, 3 months after starting the company, our hard work was starting to pay off, and I was beginning to feel more confident in my role as the CEO. Our sales were improving, and everything seemed to be going well, until he showed up.
Hey, bring out the gloomy boss of this company.
It was just another Monday morning when our workday began as usual. While I was leisurely checking my emails, a sudden roar, like thunder, reached my ears. Curious about the commotion, I hurried to the reception area where the voice had come from.
Hey, long time no see. Ethan.
To my surprise, Henry had shown up at the company unannounced.
Looks like you're doing quite well. Did you pull some strings?
His mocking tone was laced with disdain. No, it's all thanks to our employees who've been working hard.
I heard that Sarah is working here.
Yes, she is. Our recent improvement is largely thanks to her efforts. Henry raised his eyebrows and blurted out an outrageous demand.
Why did you hire her?
I happened to meet her and heard she was struggling to find re-employment, so I invited her to join us. That's all there is to it.
Fire her?
Looking into Henry's enraged eyes felt like confronting a wild beast. Trying to hide my trembling, I asked for an explanation. What do you mean?
It means exactly that. I can't stand the fact that she's working elsewhere without my consent. And you, Ethan, if you want, become a subsidiary of our company.
I'm sorry, but I have to refuse both offers. She's an important asset to us, and I want her to continue working here. Please leave. No matter what you say, we have no intention of complying.
Getting a bit too big for your boots. Huh, fine. I have other plans. Just you wait and regret this.
Unable to contain his anger, Henry kicked a nearby trash bin and stormed out of the company like a whirlwind. But as he warned, I slowly began to regret my rash defiance. The next day, we started receiving calls from clients and partners wanting to reconsider their contracts with us. Some employees also expressed a desire to resign. Just when things were beginning to stabilize, what on earth was going on? I bravely called one of our business partners to ask for the reason. As expected, Henry had investigated companies doing business with us and pressured them to cease all dealings. He was also attempting to poach our employees. Among those who refused, some said they were nearly bribed. I was distraught, but the thought of firing Sarah or becoming a subsidiary was unthinkable. I refused to relive those hellish days. Yet, the faces of each employee came to mind, including one who had recently announced their engagement with Joy. While I was wrestling with my thoughts, Sarah stood before me, her expression determined and resolute.
This is my fault. Please let me resign. If I go back to Henry's company, this company might be saved.
But,
You're the CEO. You have to put the company first.
cutting off my protests, she rebuked me. As I was at a loss for words, the sound of several footsteps approached, and the door burst open.
Sarah, what are you saying? You can't leave. Why should you have to?
Encouraged by everyone, I faced her and said, "They're right. There's no need for you to leave. But the fact that we're in this situation is undoubtedly my responsibility as the CEO." I clenched my fist as if making a vow. I won't run away this time. We'll face this head on. We can't let someone who hurts our valuable employees get away with it.
Yeah. Let's show them what our company is made of. If we don't stand our ground now, when will we?
Inspired by my words, Alex and the other employees raised their fists in solidarity. Seeing this, Sarah's eyes seemed to moisten slightly. United as one, we visited each company that had withdrawn their dealings with us, one by one. Being turned away at the door wasn't a one-time thing. Fear of Henry's influence was so great that merely hearing our company's name would often result in apologetic rejections. Even so, everyone worked hard to get the deal back and opened up new business partners. The pressure was beyond what we could have imagined, and the damage was so severe that at one point, our survival was in jeopardy. However, everyone did their best without a single whimper. I thought about what I could do, immersing myself in system development and sales. Thanks to everyone's hard work, our revenue gradually increased, and when we reached our peak annual sales, we shared our joy hand in hand. Around this time, the system I developed became a huge hit. It caught the industry's eye, and companies continuously approached us wanting to make deals. When the company had found its footing, Sarah, staying late as she used to, brought me a cup of coffee.
To think you stood toe-to-toe with Henry. Who are you exactly?
It wasn't me alone. It was all of us working together. I was about to sip my coffee, feeling confident we had scored a significant victory over Henry. One day, as soon as I arrived at work, the reception area was unusually noisy. When I rushed over, I found Henry there. But his usual arrogant demeanor was gone. He seemed to be in a lot of trouble. "Do you need something again?"
Please, could you come back to us? The gap you and Sarah left was huge.
He approached me with an unprecedented level of humility.
Please, I'm begging you. Since you left, our sales have only plummeted, and we can't seem to get any work done. I've come to realize you were indispensable to us.
As I was about to refuse, Sarah appeared. From a distance, I could see Alex looking over, worried. Now, I was not the same as before. I had a place to protect, and people to protect. I braced myself to confront Henry again.
Hey, Sarah, I've been waiting for you. I was wrong. Please, come back to us.
Henry talked to Sarah.
I'll double your salary, anything. Just come back, will you?
despite the underhanded things Henry had done, he still wielded significant power in our industry. The scale of his company and the value of the Henry name were immensely large. It seemed absurd for someone as talented as her to work in such a small company forever. I waited for Sarah's response, but she, unfazed, simply said,
I refuse your offer.
Both Henry and I were taken aback by her unexpected reply.
I appreciate your recognition, Henry, but it's not about the money.
Sarah continued with a fierce look, her quiet anger palpable.
Could you please not interfere with us any further?
I apologize for everything that's happened. So please.
Henry looked at her with pleading eyes, but perhaps realizing our firm resolve, he slumped his shoulders and left the scene. For a while, a heavy atmosphere lingered in the office until Sarah clapped her hands, dispelling it.
Let's get back to work. Boss, don't you have a meeting later? We'll be late if we don't start now. Let's all get ready.
With that, she smiled gently. Later, I heard Henry's company, unable to manage without us, plummeted in credibility and eventually went bankrupt. Henry, who had been rumored to be unscrupulous from the start, lost his position and honor completely. He seemed to have focused on making a comeback until the end, but Henry's misdeeds had become well known among peers, resulting in even banks refusing to deal with him. With the bankruptcy, we suddenly stopped seeing Henry around our company. Rumors have it that he's been working multiple part-time jobs from dawn till dusk to repay the debts left when the company folded. However, his pride as the former CEO and constant disputes with colleagues seemed to get in the way. Thus, he kept changing jobs, and now, no one knows where he is. The real victims, though, were the employees affected by the bankruptcy. Despite the collapse, the company had long been recognized as a major player, housing many talented employees. Even after Sarah left, it seems that employees who admired her stayed in touch and occasionally reached out to each other. Some of them came to us saying, "If Sarah is here, then it's good enough for us." It was just when our company was stable. It was a stroke of luck, especially since we were considering recruiting more staff due to business expansion. Unlike before, when I was constantly worried about tomorrow's finances, I've been able to manage the company with more ease. Remember when Henry barged in, demanding we return to his company? I've always wondered why you refused.
Why did I refuse? Simply put, I disliked Henry's company.
I couldn't help but smirk at Sarah's words. Well, that's true. But I've been wondering why you decided to stay with our company. It's a question I've had for a long time. Considering other companies would want someone like her, not just Henry, I was genuinely curious why she chose to stay with a small startup company we were familiar with. Because, Sarah, you're highly competent. You'd excel even in much larger companies than this one. Then, she sat down on the sofa and began to share what she had kept to herself.
When I was at the previous company, I had many grievances about the way things were done and the rules. But I couldn't speak up because I didn't know what would be done to me if I did.
She looked at me directly.
You had the courage to stand up to Henry. Although it resulted in being pushed out of the company, to me, that was admirable and made you look cooler than anyone else.
I was taken aback to learn Sarah had seen me in such a light.
After you were gone, I worked seriously, but I increasingly wondered, is this really okay?
I listened intently to Sarah's farts for the first time.
And then, right after I impulsively quit my job, you reached out to me, and I decided I'll follow this man for life.
although I felt a bit embarrassed. Knowing Sarah's true feelings brought me relief. Thanks to Sarah and every employee's hard work, our company's performance improved steadily. We even reached one of our long-term goals, making the company public. Still, I have nothing but gratitude for the employees who stuck with me from the challenging early days. And there was another significant change in me.
Boss, today I'm going to get an answer from you, okay?
Sarah peered at me with her wide eyes, as usual, asking me the same question during our work discussions.
And when will you start speaking informally with me?
That's because speaking informally feels like a high hurdle to clear. I've been dodging the question, but today I couldn't escape. Scratching my head, I tried to find a way out of this situation. Suddenly, she stood right in front of me, determined.
I want to make things clear. What do you think of me? I won't move from here until I hear your answer.
She puffed her cheeks cutely. Well, I think you're a wonderful person, well-liked and competent at your job. Truthfully, I was deeply attracted to her. She was not only competent and beautiful, but also humble. Her compassionate and diligent nature towards everyone made me gradually drawn to her. However, I thought a worthless CEO like me didn't match up to her. So, I decided to keep those feelings to myself, intending to act solely as an employee. But being pressed like this, my resolve was wavering. As if seeing right through me, she suddenly flashed a smile.
You're lying. That's not all, is it? I've noticed.
Her face beamed with happiness. I could feel my face turning bright red. When I started the company, I was desperate. I feared I would despise myself if I couldn't get it off the ground, especially after leaving Henry. Every time the company faced the brink of bankruptcy due to Henry's pressure, I regretted standing up to him. Why do I always have to go through this? I spent countless sleepless nights. Yet, there were people watching over me in my reckless endeavors. Even someone like me had people willing to follow. And I met a wonderful woman named Sarah, along with irreplaceable companions like Alex. Moving forward, I want to keep striving towards greater goals without losing sight of what's important. Sarah, would you like to go out for dinner tonight? For now, I'll start by opening up about my feelings to her, the girl blushing right in front of me.